What's going on, everyone, on YouTube, TikTok, or social media? Let's have a conversation. How can you live off of $30,000 a year? Now, I didn't grow up rich or privileged.
Most people think living on $30,000 or less is impossible in today's economy. They imagine surviving on ramen noodles, wearing the same 3 shirts for months, and basically living like a college student forever. But what if I told you that's completely wrong?
My family pretty much made just enough not to be on food. So, I grew up not in the best situation, and I learned a lot of different things. Like, to live on $30,000 salary, I had to learn how to create a budget that prioritized needs over wants.
So let's start with your needs. Needs are like the non-negotiables, the stuff that you actually need to keep a roof over your head and food on the table. So rent or mortgage, groceries, gas, childcare, utilities, insurance, like the basics. Now don't overthink it. If you need it to live, it is a need. But here's what most people trip up. They start sliding wants into the needs columns. You know what I'm talking about, like the daily drive-through coffee that you swear is essential for survival. The streaming services you need because your kids love it.
Like the following budget is 50, 30, 20 rule. And I keep saying this one because it's 50% goes to necessity, 30% goes to want, and 20% goes to saving. Now, this requires strategy, cost saving, and cutting measure, like getting a roommate.
Making ends meet on a low income? Here's how to save money in 30 seconds. Step 1. Make a budget. Track your income and expenses. Step 2. Avoid debt. Be mindful of your spending habits. Step 3. Cook at home.
To lower your housing costs. Cooking most of your meals. Minimize transport expenses and avoiding unnecessary purchase and subscription. So, that's the overview of this video. So let's go into this and have a real conversation. Let's talk about budgeting, costs, and saving strategy.
30-20 rule. Here's how it works. 50% of your income goes to needs. Think rent, food, bills, and transportation. These are the absolute essentials you can't live without. Next up, 30% goes to wants. This is all the fun stuff like eating out with friends, shopping sprees, and your favorite entertainment. They're nice to have, but not critical. And finally, the most important part. 20% goes straight to savings or paying down debt.
Create a strict budget is the first thing you need to do if you want to live off of $30,000. Now, this is going to be impossible if you live in a major city or in a high cost of living place like California. But if you live in the middle of nowhere or you live in a more rural area, this is very possible. So you need to learn to create a strict budget. After taxes, a $30,000 salary is roughly about $2,000 per month. So using budgeting apps and tracking all your income and expenses. So that's a good start. Now that you know it's about $2,000 a month, you need to know that a good starting point is to use the 50-30-20 rule. So 50% for needs, 30% for wants, and 20% for savings. Now, that being said, $1,000 will go into your housing costs. So what's the very first thing that's going to cost you a lot of money is lowering your housing costs. Yes, you can buy a house in some areas making $30,000 a year. You can get an apartment for less than $1,000. You can get a roommate for less than $1,000. There's all different methods you can do. Now, if you live in a major city, you're gonna have to do a flat situation where you split utilities and rent with someone to get a place. It's not the ideal situation, I know. But you only make $30,000 and you're trying to survive. That's the best effort. Now, here's a house that you can buy if you make $30,000 a year. It's not the best house, but you can afford one. Now, this goes for the situation you're in. you got $1,000 a month in this category. So you need to consider living in a more affordable neighborhood or a smaller place.
You know that's not how it works, right? Like there's a lot more stuff that you need to do to actually be able to move in. You don't just call them. Are you serious? Like what? Well, first you need to give them your proof of income by submitting your pay stubs or bank records. You need to even give them your job offer letter. They also need copies of your ID, maybe your passport. Jeez, my government IDs? What do they need that for? Well, they need to run a credit check on you to make sure that you're actually responsible. You're not just gonna miss payment. All right, but what happens if I have a bad credit score? Is that gonna affect anything? Well, you might get rejected or you need to pay them a higher security deposit. Dang, gotta keep my credit score up, I guess. Oh yeah. And they might even ask you to put references down to make sure that you're responsible. References? How am I supposed to do that?
Well, that's just it. You can't afford luxury. You can't afford nothing. And you have to keep your expenses low. So now we got the housing situation covered. If you don't understand it, here's a house for rent for $700-800. Here's an apartment for rent for $700-800. And I'll start throwing random ones on the screens so that you can see that, yes, in different areas you can do this. Some areas cheaper, some areas expensive, but even in Houston, you can do it. Now, what's the next thing you need to do whenever you create your budget? It's reduce food expenses. Now, cooking at home, packing your own lunch, and avoiding eating out, and expensive delivery service.
Someone's on a budget. What's the best investment?
So the best investment would be cooking at home.
You know what's funny too? We started having more home cooked meals at the house, and I noticed I started getting more trim and feeling a lot better. And we don't realize when you go out all the time, you're eating out, you're spending the money, but also maybe you're not always getting the greatest ingredients.
You hear that, right? Expensive delivery service and eating out. You have to afford it. You can't afford it. I mean, you get another $1,000 of that, of your funding, which is about $600, $550 to spend on this. But at the end of the day, you're a single person or married. If you're married, hopefully you have a dual income at $30,000. But if you're not, you're gonna have to figure out some unique things to reduce your expenses. And one of the things my family did was grew their own veggies, raised chickens, and guess what? Hunting and fishing. Yes, some people says, oh, hunting and fishing, I don't want to do that. Well, if you need to do it to survive, that's what you got to do. I mean, used to go fishing every weekend, catch a few fish, and bring it home. And I would have a meal for a day or two. And that would lower my expenses. Now, I didn't use no fancy gear. I didn't use no fancy guns. I just went out hunting, got hogs, got chickens, got all these things. And that helped lower my expenses when I was growing up. Now, that's not for everyone. But if you live out on the countryside, that's a way to lower your expenses. Now, when you plan your meals and only buy what you need to minimize your expenses, and consider a vegetarian diet some days, or grow some of your own veggies to save some money. I know I don't like it either, but hey, if you're making $30,000 a year, you might not be eat meat every day. So guess what? You gotta figure out what you can do. Now, if you're making $40,000, it's a lot easier, but we're going with the extreme $30,000 just because it's right above poverty line, and that's where it hurts. So now we know how to save on food. You can hunt, fish, you can go grow your own veggies, you can raise chickens, you can raise rabbits, you can raise ducks to help cover your expenses. And then what else can you do is coupon and buy stuff on discounts. And that's how you save money and reduce your food expenses. Is it the best thing to do? No, but it's what you gotta do if you're at a low income. Now, the next thing you have to do is cut down on your wants and non-essentials. Avoid impulse buying and focus on necessities. Yes, even low income to high earners all have impulse purchases. And I see it all the time. Just because you can buy it doesn't mean that you need it. So cut back on it and make sure you do a rule like 30 days, 60 days of having it in your cart to see if you really want it or just an impulse. Cutting back or eliminating subscription for streaming services, cables, or gym membership is another way you can cut down because that's not essential. You can always work out at home. There's a bunch of different ways you can work out, body workouts. You can buy bands to help you work out. You can buy cheap weights. You can find them on Amazon. There's all different ways that you can get cheap gym equipment so that you don't have to buy things. And lastly, to cut down on your wants and non-essential is buy secondhand clothes and other items when possible. Yes, it doesn't sound that great, but I had hand-me-downs from my older brother, and most of the people, if you're not the firstborn, had hand-me-downs. It's okay, wash the clothes. As long as it's fashionable for you, fits well, that's all that matters. Now, the other major cost cutting you can do is minimize transportation costs. And it's gonna suck if you live in the countryside, but walk, bike, or use public transportation instead of relying on a car for all your trips. That's one thing you can do. If you need a car, consider one that's older, cheaper to maintain, and look for affordable insurance plan. That's really what all you can do whenever you get to the vehicle portion is buy cheap vehicle, pay in full. Get a cheaper insurance that still covers you, and that's all you can do if you have to have a vehicle. Now, you can find good cars at $5,000, and you can find really good cars at $10,000, but the thing you need to do is search and do your due diligence to get a affordable car that is reasonable. I've seen grandparents sell their vehicles because they had 2 vehicles or 3 vehicles and one of them passed away and they just didn't need the vehicles and they just got rid of it. And it was really good conditions. You can find those vehicles. It just takes time. Now, not the last thing. The next thing you need to address is your debt. Avoid taking on new debt. Create a plan to pay off your excess debt as quickly as possible. Making $30,000 is going to be extremely hard. But do what you can and you should be fine. $100, $200 to pay down debt. It may take you forever, but hey, at least you're paying down your debt. And maybe pick up a side hustle to make more money to pay down your debt so you can live a more comfortable life. Because it's not about how much money you make as long as you are free. Your financial freedom number is what really sets you free. Just because you have a high income doesn't mean you're free. And that's what I learned in my life. Because I know a lot of people that makes $100,000, $200,000, $300,000, but if they miss a paycheck, they're broke. They're on the streets. And so they could be in a similar situation at a big paycheck. But once you learn how to handle your money at $30,000 and you start making a lot more money, you're going to be a lot better off than most people. Now, if you're living off $30,000, I have to tell you this. The next thing you got to do, or you could do, is increase or freelance work to help supplement your income. I make a lot of money on my side hustles, my consultant business, that it helps me and that could actually pay my bills. And I do get benefit from the government, from the VA. So I have a lot of different ways for my income. Now for you, you have to find a way to bring in extra income. Is it flipping your Pokemon cards? Is it selling trash from the side street, cleaning up? Is it flipping furniture? Is it cutting grass? Is it Ubering? All these different things can bring your extra money. It's a gig economy now. It's really easy to get a side hustle. You just have to find one that you can do. And next is look for a higher paying job if possible, or take classes or training so you can get a better paying job to increase your income. So now that we address increasing your income and Maybe you go back to school. Maybe you get some training. Maybe you start a freelance business. Maybe you explore side hustles. It's up to you in this situation. Personally, I'll tell you, go on the side hustle. And lastly, if you're really struggling, look for assistance. Check if you're eligible for any government assistance program for food, housing, or other bills. There's plenty out there. I'm not going to go into detail, but look it up. It's all based on your local area and see what you can do. And living on $30,000 a year is very achievable, but require discipline and careful planning, as your ability to live comfortable will heavily depend on your location and cost of living. Now, I lived off of $40,000 a year to build up my retirement account, to build my businesses, to build my side hustles, so that I can now be considered coast-fire, or actually I could retire right now and be comfortable. So I learned from sacrificing all that time how to do this, and it's not easy, but you got it. Like and subscribe to my video, and hopefully this helps you and gets you ability to live off of $30,000.